My kids think I'm on a phone call, so let's make this quick. My wife and I team up to take on some of the best things streaming has to offer. Welcome back for more of Our Thoughts. No time for binging. We continue through the Umbrella Academy Season 1, this time with episode 10, entitled The White Violin. We start long ago? How long ago? She called him Reggie. Nice. This girl watches this YouTube channel. It's a young Sir Reggie with a violin. I'm assuming it's his wife who's dying. She's giving him the violin to take with him. Where? She tells him to go. Where? He takes up a weird lantern of light thing, and there are rocket ships going off in the background? What? Then the scene cuts to an immigration port in an old-timey city, possibly the 1910s or 1920s. He puts on his trademark monocle, and Sir Reggie spies an umbrella manufacturer that's up for sale. Show title reveal. My wife then asks what's going on. I explain to her that Sir Reggie is an alien and he's actually a lot older than we thought. She exclaims aloud, "What?" Wife then asks, "What were those lights? Was he sending out his babies? Is this Earth? Are we in another dimension? Stop typing, I need to talk to you." That's legitimately what she said. Present day, and we again see Vanya leaving the basement. The whole building is shaking. Vanya's in the elevator. As the shadows go in and out, we see two younger versions of herself. Creepy. Vanya then walks past the bedrooms of her siblings, getting spoken to by younger versions of them, and blowing up the rooms as she walks past. Notice how cool she looks because she's not looking back at the explosion? Diego and Klaus get knocked out by falling debris. They're about to be crushed when Ben drags them to safety. What? Vanya continues flashbacking to moments where she felt belittled. Pogo then calls out to Vanya, and the destruction stops temporarily. Pogo tries to reason with Vanya by telling her that the other kids did not know what happened to her. Vanya chillingly asks if he knew. Pogo continues his distraction to allow the other siblings to escape before Vanya unleashes her power on Pogo by impaling him on some antlers on the wall. What a horrible way to go! Diego thanks Klaus for saving him, and Ben is like, "What the heck?" They see Mom blow a kiss from the window as the building comes down around her. Vanya walks out without a care in the world. As Diego tried to save Mom, Klaus stops him. Diego, heartbreakingly, stutters trying to come to terms with this thing. Five runs into the aftermath with a warning that the apocalypse is still on. According to Five, Vanya was always going to bring down the mansion first, and then will cause the end of the world. The thing that changed this time around is that the siblings survived the building coming down around them, and Leonard died early. I say this based on the idea that Luther was holding the eyeball in the original destruction. A helicopter shows up and the Academy scatters to meet up where? No, really, I didn't hear it the first time. What police force sends a helicopter in as a first choice? The handlers eating Chinese food and scolding Hazel and Cha-Cha. She doesn't understand why they couldn't handle taking out Five. Yeah, the 50-something-year-old boy stuck in a tiny body with the advanced powers beyond that of Nightcrawler. They try to explain that his family acted as a backup. The eggs think they're smarter than the chicken. I feel like the handler is trying to be smarter than she actually is. She then finds out it was Five who sent the messages to Hazel and Cha-Cha to eliminate each other. She then gives them a new assignment: protect Vanya. If he completes the assignment, Hazel will get to live out the rest of his days with Donut Lady in a time period of his choosing. I'm sorry, her name is Agnes. Only we get to call her Donut Lady. The handler doesn't give them a choice. Musical cue. Vanya picks up her violin in what can only be described as the most hardcore way possible. She has a new eye color, new eyeliner, to prove how angsty she is. She probably shops at Hot Topic, as do a lot of this fan base. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. The Academy met up at the bowling alley. If they weren't going to bowl, why did they get shoes? Probably so they could just hang out on the lane. And where is Vanya? Oh goody, her flyer for the orchestra performance was conveniently printed in the newspaper. In this moment of chaos and despair, why would one of them even be reading a newspaper, other than to avoid speaking to the rest of them? An employee walks up and tells them that they have to bowl or they have to leave. Luther hilariously tosses a ball and gets a strike several lanes down the way. I call shenanigans. That strike shouldn't count. Klaus wants to help. Let him finish! Klaus explains that Ben was the one to save Diego, although another hilarious bowling ball toss isn't enough to prove it. Luther is super mad at him now. And in turn, Klaus spills the beans about the girl that Luther slept with. Now Allison is mad. This really devolved into an episode of popular teen drama way too fast. Random mom walks up hoping for Five to bowl with her son. In an amazing series of lines, she mistakes Diego and Klaus for his two dads. I love this show so much. After rebuking the mom, Five hears the signal for pneumatic tube time. Apparently the candies that he took several episodes, the ones that tasted like the 1950s, had a tracking device in them. Unless Five was well known for his love of candies, how did the handler know that he would take one? So much of these events are being left up to random chance. Coincidentally, inside the tube is a fortune cookie with information for him to meet her. Hazel and Cha-Cha have a conversation about whether or not this mission is legitimate or not. Hazel believes that they're being left out to die. They track Vanya getting on a bus. While on the bus, Vanya has a flashback about Sir Reggie, telling her about the amount of studies she would have to do on her own while her siblings are on a mission. Vanya sees the open violin case and asks if she can borrow it. Young Vanya believes that she could be extraordinary at playing the violin. Are we to assume that Vanya kept the same violin all these years? That violin has got to be over 100 years old. Don't musicians upgrade their equipment over time? Why was the violin case open? We've never seen Sir Reggie play. Clearly, Vanya was the only kid in the mansion at that time. Are we to assume he left it open on purpose for Vanya? Wife says that she sees a much softer side in Sir Reggie in this episode. He's still cold and himself, but you can kind of see his desire to show love to her. Back at the bowling alley, Luther attempts to apologize to Allison by explaining his actions. Luther may have liked that rave way too much. Stupid Luther. Allison doesn't want to hear it. Instead, she wants to borrow Luther's voice to speak to her daughter. I'll be the first to admit that this phone booth scene was very touching. Also, how in the world did Allison and Luther fit in that phone booth? Also, that phone booth gave me heavy Bill and Ted vibes. Also, they wore their bowling shoes outside the alley. That's a major faux pas. Hazel and Cha-Cha still tracking Vanya. I was about to write that the scene was very useless and boring, until Hazel drove the car into a barricade, sending Cha-Cha out the windshield. This is why you should always wear a seatbelt. Bowling alley. Five is left. Luther wants to move forward, but he doesn't have a plan. As they think, several guys in red masks and machine guns walk in. What the heck? Who are those guys? Maybe they're here for Kenny's birthday. Musical cue. Diego throws knives. Luther throws bowling balls. Klaus throws a birthday cake. Somebody's triggered the blacklights. This scene of the four siblings escaping through the bowling pins was amazing. Definitely rewatch it. Five shows up at the motel to see the handler. Agnes is still there. The handler is not following protocol. Apparently Five caused a lot of damage at the commission, forcing a lot of changes, but the commission's motto is whatever will be, will be. Que sera, sera. That's hypocritical. The handler gives Five an ultimatum. It makes me think that if Five never time traveled that far into the future when he was 13, he would have died with the rest of his siblings in the original destruction. Five is pretty much the catalyst of this whole show. The handler brought Five to the motel to pull him away from saving the world from Vanya. She knows he can teleport, right? You delayed him maybe 15 seconds. Wife says, time went by when he was speaking to the handler, so it was a valid distraction, but Five can just time travel backwards and make up that lost time. Wife says Five has more trouble jumping in time than he does jumping in space. Touche. Icarus Theater. Vanya begins playing. This scene is so pleasant. Vanya looks so out of place up on stage with her new look. The kids show up to the theater. Diego says what we're all thinking. The music has started. The end is near. Allison wants to speak to Vanya alone. Luther's real plan is using Allison as a distraction. Klaus is the lookout? Come on, Luther, don't be that way. Hazel gets back to the motel with his gun drawn. He just shot the handler in the head without hesitating. What? Why? Hazel consoles Agnes, giving her the option to leave. Everyone has a past. Okay, that was actually pretty cool. Now wife wants a spin-off show telling the story of Agnes's past. From donuts to dollars. How Agnes got her groove back. Allison slowly walks up the aisle of the theater. Should I go see more orchestra performances? Diego and Luther close in from the sides. I mean, I really feel like I've been missing out on these things. Wife told me that there was a sweet moment of Vanya catching eyes with Allison, and they share a sweet smile with each other. Then the boys mess it all up. I mean, I'd feel a little bit more cultured if I went to go see more orchestras. With a swipe of her violin bow, Luther and Diego are thrown back. Vanya swipes again, and the orchestra continues playing. The crowd runs for their lives as the music in the background swells. They realize if they take the violin from her, they'll have a shot at stopping her. The Red Hood machine guys roll in again. Klaus was supposed to be on lookout, but he's getting something to eat. Cha-Cha randomly is walking down the street all bloody. Five shows up at the theater. He believes they're screwed as Diego flings more knives at people. Five teleports and starts taking out some of the Red Hood guys. And Klaus just conjured Ben? Cthulhu power activate! Diego goes after Cha-Cha, who has entered the fray. Ben is wreaking havoc. When Luther realized it was Ben, that was such a sweet moment. All the while, Vanya is still playing, and her clothes and violin are turning white. As Diego has Cha-Cha by the neck, he realizes he can't kill her because of his love for Eudora. How is this going to end? The boys make a plan to rush Vanya all at once. Allison wants no part. Why don't they just use Ben again? The logic is that if Vanya finishes the concert, the world ends. Wasn't there just an orchestra playing behind her? The boys start their plan and fail miserably. Stupid boys. Now Vanya has all of you suspended in midair. Meanwhile, Allison has a gun at the back of Vanya's head. Is Vanya sucking the life out of the boys? Allison fires the gun by Vanya's ear to disrupt the sound and her concentration. Vanya then sends a beam of energy right at the moon. For a moment, the Academy thinks they did it, but the moon cracks and sends a giant rock earthbound. Klaus believes it's all over, and he holds his dog tags, remembering Dave for one last time. They've all accepted it, except for Five. Five has a plan to time travel, but to take them all with him. He's never taken people with him before. They're all in. Vanya is always the cause of the apocalypse, but if they take her with them, they may have a chance at fixing her. What follows is a beautiful scene of light surrounding the kids. At one moment, we see Hazel and Agnes kissing, but they disappear in a blue light. Hazel probably took the time travel suitcase from the handler. As the camera pans around, the kids turn into their actual kid form. We see the world disintegrating in fire and destruction. And just before the theater is swept up, the Umbrella Academy disappear in a blast of blue light. End of season 1. Hey, they left that white violin behind. Isn't that kind of an important object? Now it's destroyed. My wife questioned how Vanya caused the destruction in the original timeline, considering what just happened. In this new timeline, she shot a blast of energy at the moon the moment that Allison discharged that gun by her ear. But in the original destruction, we're led to believe that Vanya brought down the mansion on her siblings, killing them, and then afterwards destroyed the world. Also, if Vanya was allowed to finish her performance without interference, who is to say that the world would have been destroyed? If the siblings had just stayed out of it, the moon would not have fragmented and destroyed the earth. Is it really Vanya causing the destruction, or her siblings' interference? All in all, my wife and I felt that this episode did justice to the whole season. Well, that's season 1. Time to go play Settlers of Catan Jr. with my kids. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. And join us next time as we recap season 1 and talk about our expectations for season 2, due to stream July 31st.